Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my RHCE practice session series where I am preparing for the Red Hat Certified Engineer exam. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite everyone, if you haven't subscribed yet, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do so you can be aware of when new content comes available. Also, feel free to leave comments. You can ask questions, leave praise, leave criticism. I will respond as I have both time and ability to do so. And if you enjoy the video, don't forget to click the like button and share it with others that might find it useful. So in this video, I'm going to continue the study of the variables objective under the Understand Core Components of Ansible objective group. And I want to remind you that this video is a practice session for me to be able to see if I feel confident talking about whatever the objective is at hand. And then at the end of the video, if I feel like I did pretty well with that, then I know that I'm prepared for that piece of the exam if there are any tasks that come up about it. And then obviously at the end of the video, if I don't feel like I did well with it, then I know what I need to work on between now and the exam, which is about a month or so away. I do want to remind you that this is not necessarily intended to be authoritative information, nor is this intended to be a tutorial. But that being said, I do try to have the information as accurate as possible, and your benefit from watching this would possibly be the fact that, you know, if I get stuck on something, you'll see my method of troubleshooting and figuring my way out of it, and you might find that useful for your own studies as far as developing your own strategies for overcoming problems you might find on the RHCE exam. So I'm here with my workstation, and again, I have a little pre-configured Ansible environment to be able to be functional. And in the last video, we talked about just like what variables are as far as this dictionary type variable that just has your key value pairs, and then a list type variable. There's another way. Oh, and we defined the variables in the playbook themselves. There are a couple other ways to define variables, and that's what I want to cover in this particular video. And so the first is by using files. All right, so let's make a little file here. We're just going to call it Vars. Well, I'll just call it Vars. We'll do vars.yml. And we're going to make a list variable. So we're going to say packages. Well, let's not do packages. Let's do apps. And in this list, we're going to have HTTPD. We're going to have VSFTPD, I think that's the name of that package, and we'll have Maria. Yeah, I think it's the name of it, just MariaDB. You know, we can check real quick. We'll save this, DNF search. Can't remember if it's just MariaDB or MariaDB-server, or if there's two packages, one MariaDB and another MariaDB-server. So we'll find out real quick. By the way, you might have to do this on the exam if there's some package that you think you need and you can remember part of the name, but you're not 100% sure on it. DNF search is a good way for that. All right, so just MariaDB. That'll do what we want. There's a server as well. We'll just do MariaDB. We're not fully configuring this at all. All right, so let me cat that and just make sure that it looks the way that I want. Okay, so what this should do is give us let me go back to the Vars. I'm trying to be in good habit of doing my little 3 dots and 3 dashes. All right, and so what this should do is give us a list that has these 3 particular items in it. So we're going to make a little playbook. We'll call it var test and YML host. We'll give it a name. Let's see, testing external variables, and hosts. We'll just do this against localhost for right now. And tasks. Actually, what we need to do is specify vars_files. Now, or is it var file or vars files? I think it's vars files. Before we had vars, right, and we were doing our student stuff. Now we're going to do vars files, and we can either give it a single file, which we're going to do here. And I'm going to use the full path for this. You can use relative paths, like if I just put vars.yml, it's going to be looking in the directory that our playbook is in, but sometimes I'll put the full path just to be 100% sure that it'll look at the right place. So tasks, and we're going to show the vars. We'll use our good old debug module, vars, and the name of that vars was the variable that we made was apps, and this should show us what we want. So Ansible Playbook, var test, and let's see what happens. Invalid option, oh, yep, need to change that to var. All right, Ansible Playbook, var test. All right, and notice how this gives us our apps, and then we have the bracket, so we have a list of apps here. All right, so where this can be useful is, let's say you have playbooks, and these playbooks are designed to provision some servers and such, and these servers you want to have particular applications installed. So what we can do, let's make us a new playbook here. We're going to call it server provision.yml. And let's do our name, provision some servers. Host, we're going to do this to everything. And we're going to become, because we are going to be using the yum module for this. There is a DNF module, but all of my practice I've done has been with the yum module. And I have a feeling they are probably similar as far as the options and such, but yum is simply what I'm going to be using. So Vars Files. Now you can have more than one Vars file. I'm actually going to do this as a list of one. And this time I'm just going to do vars.yml just to show that, it'll still know where that file is as far as if the playbook is in the same directory. Tasks. And we'll do name, install software. Use the yum module. The name option. And we don't need to do a loop through this list because some modules such as yum accepts a list for some of its parameters. Let me exit out of this real quick and let's take a look at Ansible doc -s and yum. Let's see, and yep, to operate on several packages you can accept a comma separated list of strings or packages, or a list of packages. Now you could do the loop with this, or if you wanted, what would we call that? Server provision. Yeah. Now if we wanted to, we could do separate tasks for each of the packages, but obviously that wouldn't make much sense to do. But we also could do the loop. All right, so name, go into insert mode. Now remember, since we're just giving it a variable name, we have to start that with quotes. We'll do state latest. All right, Ansible Playbook, and we'll do server provision, and let's see what happens. All right, and it takes a minute or so just because we're just doing the install process, but notice how we have changed. And if we were to, let's see, how could we verify this? That's one thing to remember on the exam, and this is true for RHCSA as well, is even though your playbook says stuff changed and there were no errors, you still want to verify if the configuration did what you intended for it to do. So we could probably do this. So let's just SSH labrel AN01, and we'll do DNF list installed and grep for HTTPD. All right, so we found that was installed. Let's grep for MariaDB. We see the MariaDB package was installed, and let's grep, what was the other one we did? VSFTPD, that was it. All right, and we see that was installed. So I will say that this was successful. Now, one thing to remember with Ansible, if you want to revert something, basically what you have to do is run a playbook that undoes whatever the change is. So we're going to do that real quick. Call that server provision. I'm going to change this latest to absent. So Ansible Playbook server provision. And again, it'll take a moment or so. Even though the task name is still install software, we have changed the state to absent, so that should uninstall this software. And again, let me just do one of these here. Grep for vsftpd, and there should be nothing returned because it was uninstalled. Now there are a couple of other variable files that would be of interest to you, and one is called Hostvars. And the way this works, you can set variables that are specific to particular hosts. So let's say that that we want to do, what would be a good example of this? Let's say that we did a different user for well, no, that would be more of a configuration thing. I guess we could probably do the packages as well. Yeah, that I think that'll work. All right, so for Hostvars, the way that we need to do this is you have to create a folder named Hostvars. So let's do that real quick. All right, and then within the Hostvars, you would have a file that matches the name of a host in your inventory. So let's do that real quick. Hostvars, and we'll make lab rel an01. And then you would define whatever variables that you have. So let's do this. So we're going to make a variable. We'll do the same thing we did before. So apps, and in that variable we're going to make our list. We'll just do httpd this time. There's one app in the list. Oh wait, I want to be good about my dots. You know, in real life, I have seen a lot of things that will start with the dashes but not end with the dots. I'm not 100% sure if it's necessarily a requirement to do that, but I'm trying to be consistent with what I'm doing with YAML stuff. All right, so what we should have, and let's do this. Let's make a playbook, and we'll call this hostvar test.yml, and we're going to display hostvars. Hosts, we'll do this against all, and we don't need to become for this, and we will, yeah, that's it. So tasks, name, and what we're going to do is display the host variable. And remember, the name of that variable was apps. So we'll do debug var apps, and I'm going to do, let's see, was it error? So error action? No, ignore errors. That's it. Ignore errors. Yes. There's a reason for this, and you'll see it in just a moment. So let's run this playbook. Oh, I understand what the problem is. There's no inventory file in the hostvars directory. So we're going to move this hostvar test up a level, and let's try this again. Ansible playbook, hostvar test. All right, and notice what we have here. The apps variable, we get a complaint that it is not defined. However, for the labrel an01, it is defined as httpd. And notice that in the playbook, let's go back to the playbook real quick. We didn't actually say, hey, go look at this particular file to get the variable. By default, if you have hostvars defined, that's going to be imported into the playbook. And this is where variables can become a bit of a challenge when you're trying to troubleshoot and such, is because you can have variables coming from more than one place into your playbook, and it might not be obvious in the playbook where they're coming from. I'm not sure what the necessary best practice is. I know just for me personally, if I'm doing scripting and such, I want to be able to read a script and like know what's happening within that script. That being said, I can see the efficiency of using something like hostvars, to where you know that that particular host need to have configuration, but just know that, like, keep in the back of your head that you might need to look in more than one place to see the variables that you're going to be encountering in your script. I'm going to change this ignore errors to no, and let's see what happens with that. If I'm right, we're going to get some blood on the screen, which that's a term from PowerShell, but you get red in Ansible, so I guess it makes sense too. So hostvar test.yml. That's curious. I wasn't expecting that to be okay. But still the same that you have here. It says that the variable is not defined. You can also do a group vars file as well. So let's go into our inventory and let's make a group. We're just going to call it test servers. And we'll put labrel AN0, 1, and 2 in the test servers group. Verify our inventory here. Yep. All right. So just like you have the directory for Hostvars, you can make one for group vars as well. So group vars. And just like with the Hostvars, you would create a file that matches the name of your group. So let's do that. Group vars. And we'll do group vars test servers. And this time let's do something else. We'll do a dictionary this time. So let's call the variable jutsu. And we're going to do, let's see, fireball jutsu, and that's going to be fire style. And let's do, will be another jutsu, earth wall, earth style. All right, so we have our little variable defined there. And let's do another playbook. So let's get out of the vars. Or no, we're still in this. Yep, when in doubt, pwd, right? So let's do another playbook. We'll call it group test.yml. Testing group vars. And let's see, hosts. I'm going to do this against all tasks. Just do one debug task here. Show the group vars debug, and the var that we want to look at. Let's do jutsu, and then fireball. All right, so let's see what happens here. So it says not defined for any of them. All right, perhaps I typoed my variable name. Nope, jutsu, fireball, fire style, earth wall. Let's just do this just to make sure. We'll just do jutsu. So group test. So we'll test our playbook again. Because I expect that to be defined for the test servers. So let's do this. Let us go back to our Hostvars and lab rel an01, and we're going to add this here. This will test if maybe there was some syntax issue with my variable file. So Ansible playbook, and let's do our group test. So we have the host var there. Let's see what happens. That is odd. Okay, so let's troubleshoot from here. Let's take a look at our playbook. So tasks, host all, name, debug. All right, so all of that looks good. All right, and if we were to look at Hostvars, cat. I think I know. Well, yeah, I think I figured out what the problem is. So let's go back to our group vars, test servers. Okay. No, that should work, because that should be a variable named jutsu that has fireball as its value. Well, let's try one other thing before we troubleshoot that any further. So let's do Ansible playbook, and we'll do our group test. We're going to do -e. This allows for some extra arguments. And actually, is it extra arguments or extra vars? We'll take a look at the man page. But you can explicitly feed a playbook variables like this. So we're going to do jutsu equals fireball. And let's see what happens here. I can't believe it. I figured out the problem. Some of you are probably watching the video saying over and over again, yep, Eddie, it's right in front of you. Perhaps if I spell the variable name right in my playbook, that might help. So let's do this again. Humility, just 2. Wow. Well, it just goes to show spelling counts, right? And so one thing to take note of when you're on the RHCE and something's like this and just things aren't working, then when in doubt, check your spelling. So let's try this again, just feeding it jutsu fireball. Yep, that's what we expect. So now let's go back. Let's remove the hostvar. So I want to just have the group variable available. And let's try this again. Okay, that's what I expect to see now. So it's not defined for host 3 and 4. It is defined for host 1 and 2 because of the group variables file. And so we also hit the other point that I was going to make, which is that -e to be able to feed variables. One other thing that I want to show you as far as ways of getting a variable is using a prompt. So let's do this. I'm actually going to remove our group variable so that way there's no confusion there. Let's go back into our playbook. VI Ansible playbook. Man, you can tell my brain's kind of fried for right now. All right, and we're actually going to define some variables in the playbook, which I know was not necessarily the point of this particular video, but it was one other thing that I wanted to show you. So we're going to call this Vars prompt, and we're going to give it a name. And the name, this is going to be our variable name, so jutsu. And the prompt is give us a jutsu name. And you can also, I think you can set a default value as well with this. Actually, we'll try that. So default, we're just going to say default is fireball. So Ansible playbook, group test. All right, so give me a jutsu name. There we go. So you see how it has fireball in the bracket. So if we say nothing, then it should just do fireball. So I just pressed enter there. Yep. Let's try it once again, and let's do earth wall. It does not give you the information back in the prompt there. So that shows you a way of prompting your users for the for variables, explicitly adding the variables using -e. And I said I would look this up real quick. Man, Ansible playbook. Let's see, is it extra args or extra vars? Yeah, that's it. So the -e, I just use -e for that to be able to feed variables into a playbook and then being able to call external files that have variables to be able to use. So we're already almost at 30 minutes with this, so I think I'm going to do yet another video for variables, and in this one I'm going to talk about special variables or magic variables, and as well as get into some variable precedent, which that is important to know as far as when you're troubleshooting, and you have host vars in play, you have group vars in play, you have external files in play, and we'll see what wins if you have like conflicting names and such. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure that you click like and also subscribe to the channel. If you have not, you can click that subscribe button and ring the bell so you can be notified of when new content comes available. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite you to share this with others that might find it useful, and feel free to leave comments as well. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.